MoltenMCI or Funtime MCI is the theory that in FNAF 3's Follow Me minigames, William Afton breaks apart the original animatronics, takes their endoskeletons which have the missing children's spirits attached to them, and melts them down into a substance called Remnant, combining all 5 together. This Remnant is then reserved in the scooper and gets injected into the Funtime animatronics, meaning that all the Funtimes, therefore Ennard, therefore Molten Freddy, contain the spirits of the original missing children. This theory was almost entirely agreed upon by the FNAF community, although it's been debated against recently with alternative explanations on the rise. But here's why it definitely happens and why I'm so sure. Before we begin though, tomorrow the live FNAF Theory talkback on Game Theory begins, and I'm thrilled to say that I'll be there alongside some amazing FNAF theorists. So make sure to be there at 5 PM ET wishing me the best of luck, because I'm gonna need it after this theory. Which, speaking of, we need to talk about the elephant in the room before anything else. Happiest Day. How are the missing children's spirits doing anything if Happiest Day happens in FNAF 3? Well, I don't believe it happens at FNAF 3, but simply at the end of the timeline itself, after everything we've seen and everything we get in the future. My reasoning for this is that none of the spirits we see rest, truly rest. Cassidy traps William in Ultimate Custom Night and possibly returns in Security Breach. That's one. Charlie is active within Lefty in FNAF 6 and possibly in Security Breach 2, number 2. And if you add MoltenMCI into the mix with the missing children, they don't rest either, so all 6 don't rest. Scott Cawthon said in his interview with Dorco after Ultimate Custom Night that the answer to which FNAF 3 ending happens is
very interesting. The answer is complex.
And I think that's because both happen. Think of it, the ending with their lights on signifying they're still there is because of FNAF 6, Ultimate Custom Night, etc. While the ending with their lights off signifying they're at rest is after they're freed in Happiest Day, meaning that both are canon but just at different points in time. So now we have the biggest question with MoltenMCI and Happiest Day in general out of the way. How can I be so confident that MoltenMCI even happens? Well, first of all, the biggest piece of evidence is Henry's speeches themselves. In the Insanity ending, Henry talks about
small souls trapped in prisons of my making,
missing children, which from now on I'll be calling the MCI by the way, and then goes on to talk about how William
set some kind of trap. He lured them all back to a familiar place, back with familiar tricks. He brought them all together. He overpowered them, and he robbed them of the only thing that they had.
Which is perfectly describing the Follow Me minigames. He then continues to say,
are they still aware? I hope not.
As if they're still there. And in the completionist and main ending, he says to Charlie that
it's time to rest, for you and for those you have carried in your arms.
While showing the puppet giving life to the MCI, proving that the MCI are still there in FNAF 6. This is doubled down when Cassidy speaks through Orville Elephant in Ultimate Custom Night, saying,
he tried to release you. He tried to release us. I will hold you here. I will keep you here, no matter how many times they burn us.
Directly telling us that Cassidy was a part of the FNAF 6 fire in some way. So with FNAF 6 telling us that the MCI are there, how do we know they're connected to the Funtimes? Well, not only with process of elimination, but the Ultimate Guide steers us in the right direction, claiming that the 4th closet showcase on the MCI's Remnant shows us how Molten Freddy, therefore Ennard in the Funtimes, came to be, which is where William burns down the original's endoskeletons and combines them all to get their Remnant. In the Scooper blueprints, we also see that it was specifically made to reserve and then inject Remnant, explaining how Michael survives and how the Funtimes would have been injected with the MCI's Remnant, whether it was before Sister Location or when they were all scooped in Sister Location. Interestingly enough, after the FNAF 6 ending we see this image of all the MCI, and Charlie's gravestones, further pushing the idea that they are here in FNAF 6. Michael even states in the Sister Location Custom Night ending that
they were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
Which shows that the Funtimes, more so the spirits in them, have seen Michael before, but they thought he was William. But even then, what if it's not exactly following the novels? What if it just meant that there is Remnant in Molten Freddy, not specifically the MCIs? Well, my question to that is who else would they be possessed by? Baby claims,
I can do something special. I can make ice cream, although I only did it once.
talking about Elizabeth's death and proving Baby's only captured once. The only other times we've seen the Funtimes collecting another kid is in Funtime Freddy's blueprints, although that doesn't mean he actually took that child, as this isn't a live viewing of him, just his blueprints. The Remnant being from the MCI also means that the MCI have appeared in every single game in the original story, and removing them from sister location would break the pattern. And something I did quickly want to mention is that MoltenMCI doesn't retcon Follow Me, it simply gives it a stronger purpose. Instead of simply being a plot device to trap William and claiming that he only destroyed the suits because he was scared or wanted them to be free, it turns out that he destroyed the suits for his own gain and a goal far more important. Also, two smaller but extra points towards MoltenMCI are the Candy Cadet stories and how the Funtimes follow similar game techniques to the originals. First of all though, the Candy Cadet stories are most likely about Charlie and the MCI, with each story mentioning one person trying to help 5 things, but ultimately failing. This theme, coupled with the Ultimate Guide stating that this is hinting at MoltenMCI, indicates to me that these stories are about Charlie helping the MCI and trying to give them life. But Afton takes that away, which is when the 5 MCI become 1. By similar game techniques, however, I mean that Funtime Freddy appears only in the darkness and tries to sneak up on you like original Freddy. Funtime Foxy twitches and must be warded off with a flashlight like Withered Foxy. Ballora is based off audio cues like original Chica in the kitchen and with her music box in Ultimate Custom Night, while Yendo is basically Golden Freddy copy and pasted to a T. The only one not connected or similar is Bonnie, excluding Bonbon and Bonette, simply because besides not abiding by the laws of physics, Bonnie has nothing special about him. Sorry, Bonnie. Now we've gone through all the evidence, there's one big issue with MoltenMCI, and that's the fact that after William would have burnt the endoskeletons and created their remnant, 1. How can the ghost appear in the FNAF 1 location if their remnant is all the way underground? And 2. What's the reason he comes back after getting all the parts? Well, I think I have the answers, or at least some sort of solution. First of all, the reason that the MCI souls would be able to be in the Funtimes and in the final Follow Me minigame is due to their agony still being in the remains or shells of their suits. Basically, soul splitting. It sounds really complex, but trust me, it's not. The agony is simply just an extension of their spirits. That's why in the Fazbear Frights series, Andrew says it felt like he was everywhere when his agony infected so many things. This also works with the theory that Afton's agony helps cause the FNAF 3 phantoms to appear in the first place, but doubling down now with the agony-filled shells being all around Fazbear's Fright, a place now filled to the brim with agony that in turn caused the phantoms to appear. This isn't the first time we hear about soul splitting either. In the 4th closet, the MCI spirits are already split between the Afton amalgamation and the Funtimes. In Somnophobia, part of Sam is in his body and another part is in the sphere, causing a kind of split perspective. And Coming Home shows Susie's spirit going back to her house every day, despite her physically being stuck in the pizzeria. Moving on, and the reason that William came back to the abandoned pizzeria has been a question since FNAF 3, although I think we are actually given the reason in the Silver Eyes. There's a scene in the book where William refuses to talk and doesn't until he's given the Spring Bonnie mask and puts it on, almost as if he's one with Spring Bonnie and needs it to feel full. In fact, he outright feels immortal with it on, saying they won't kill me because I'm one of them. He feels one with the Spring Bonnie suit and thinks he's now just like them, which would work with how when we see everything's going wrong in Follow Me, he rushes to the Spring Bonnie suit and goes from crazy stressing to laughing and feeling powerful. The suit and him are one. So it's highly likely that Afton came back to simply gather his suit from the back room to take it with him, which is why he's ambushed/trapped inside that room, and obviously now he can't take it out anymore. Before we move on to the timeline placement of Follow Me and Sister Location, with MoltenMCI in mind, this is the best place to speak about where Golden Freddy is in Follow Me, considering we never see their broken suit. So that has a lot of people thinking that maybe Golden Freddy wasn't broken, but I genuinely think that we don't see Golden Freddy's location because he doesn't have one. Hear me out, but Freddy, Bonnie and Chica all start on the show stage just like they do in FNAF 1, with Foxy starting in Pirate's Cove, and they all move towards their destruction. However, Golden Freddy doesn't have a location to start at, as it simply teleports into the office in FNAF 1, and anytime we've seen it in this series, it's frozen still, so there's no reason for it to suddenly be moving around normally again. Since FNAF 3, we've been able to assume that Golden Freddy's suit was also broken, considering the spirit is also out and awakened, but it was left out either to keep Golden Freddy's mysterious and powerful nature, or because Scott didn't want to cram its destruction and the Springlock scene in the same minigame, considering the minigame story is supposed to end at night 5, and the only thing we get after night 6 is the newspaper ending, which is an extra ending. Although I should make it clear this isn't a problem with MoltenMCI, and has been a problem since FNAF 3. Okay, besides that, let's talk timeline wise. How do all these pieces fit into place? Well, first of all, we need to talk about something that fits all the pieces together. The other elephant in the room. The safe rooms. Why would the safe rooms be open in Follow Me if they were already sealed off earlier in the timeline, which we know due to Phone Guy being alive in those calls? Is it possible that Follow Me takes place before FNAF 1 but in the same building? So then the safe rooms with Springtrap inside get sealed off while Phone Guy is still alive, and then these are the wizards who get repaired into the originals. I'd like to agree, as it would make it a lot simpler. However, this doesn't seem to work, as Follow Me happens after FNAF 1. For a few reasons. Despite the location in Follow Me being abandoned as seen by rats moving around inside the building with water leaking through, we hear from Phone Dude that they already raided the FNAF 1 location and found the original Foxy head, etc. Their shells. But if Follow Me is before FNAF 1, why did they only find their shells? We hear that the only thing Phone Dude and co find to an actual working animatronic is Springtrap, and there are no endoskeletons present in FNAF 3, so why wouldn't they find the endoskeletons of the originals instead of just their shells, if these are the wizards and the originals get rebuilt? There would be no reason that the FNAF 1 endoskeletons would be gone entirely. We also see the FNAF 1 shells in both of FNAF 3's endings, which we get immediately after the final Follow Me minigame, which shows the same animatronic shells on the floor. Rolling back to FNAF 3's release, and unless this is the retcon swapping its timeline placement, why would William destroy the suits just for them to be rebuilt anyways? It would make the minigames simply just a plot device, as it wouldn't free the MCI souls considering they'd still possess the FNAF 1 animatronics, and them being repaired straight after means that William would have made no impact whatsoever in those minigames, besides just being trapped. A great theorist that I've featured on this channel before, ID's Fantasy, pointed out that the supposed originals have buttons, which is weird considering the FNAF 1 animatronics literally just don't have buttons. But I would like to say two things about this. One being that in the first FNAF World teasers, we see each animatronic get turned into their adventure models, and we see FNAF 1 Freddy turning into Adventure Freddy, who has buttons. So despite clearly being FNAF 1 Freddy, Scott added buttons to its adventure model. Another thing is that these minigames have never been consistent, even with their buttons. No offense, Scott. For example, who we know 100% to be Withered Freddy does not have any buttons in FNAF 2, nor does Withered Golden Freddy. Even in FNAF 4, Spring Bonnie goes from a fully yellow suit to a light brown suit, a small head to a medium head to a large head, all in the same set of minigames. We could also talk about how the Afton house changes from game to game, but I think you get the point. This is a great detail to catch, and I hope no offense is taken when I say that I think this is just another case of minigame inconsistencies. So okay, if Follow Me happens after FNAF 1, what really happens with the safe rooms then, if Phone Guy's already dead by the point that should happen? Well, Phone Guy seems to tell us exactly when these safe rooms get walled off. Listen closely.
Previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations.
In this sentence, we get two major hints at its time frame. One being that the safe rooms had to have been previously mentioned before this phone call takes place, meaning that it can't happen after FNAF 2 nor after FNAF 1, because we never hear of the safe rooms in those games, and only in the previous phone calls that take place in 1983 to 1985. It also mentions how there are multiple locations currently open, yet we know FNAF 2's location is the grand reopening of Freddy's, and only remains open for a single week, and FNAF 1's location was opened with a way shorter budget to the point they repaired the wizards, instead of making new animatronics, meaning only one location would be open at the time of FNAF 1. And if Follow Me takes place before FNAF 1, then that would mean that there are 0 locations open at the time, despite Phone Guy saying it's sealed across multiple, and implying that the location is open.
Work crews will be here most of the day today.
At least to me, this proves that the phone calls about the safe rooms being sealed cannot take place after FNAF 1, nor after FNAF 2, but at the unseen and first ever Freddy's location where the MCI takes place. That's why the only other phone calls we ever hear about the safe rooms are when the Spring Bonnie suit was moved to commit the MCI. Unfortunately and confusingly, this does mean that the safe rooms were sealed, broken into by William during Follow Me, and then sealed again by Henry, Michael, we don't know. Although this does prove that the phone call about the safe rooms being sealed off cannot be about William getting spring-trapped, and was for some other reason, possibly being the investigation happening because of the MCI. So for all of those those reasons, Follow Me, therefore MoltenMCI, and therefore Sister Location all take place after FNAF 1. Although this isn't saying that the Funtimes themselves were created after FNAF 1, but they were just injected with the MCI's Remnant after FNAF 1. As we know, the Funtimes were around since around 1983 due to the fact that Fredbear's family diner with Fredbear and Spring Bonnie is directly connected to Circus Baby's gallery on the Breaker Room map, and Circus Baby's Pizza World had a Springlock suit. Something I should mention, or else I'm gonna see it in the comments, is that a counterpoint often used to put Sister Location before FNAF 1 is Michael being fired for odor, which I believe is nothing more than a joke, considering he also gets fired for tampering with the animatronics, which is confirmed to be about Custom Night and nothing more like we once thought. Something else is that Mike's logbook features the Sister Location animatronics, despite the entire logbook surrounding a Freddy's location, which is true, but the logbook itself happens during FNAF 3 due to not only the safe rooms being mentioned again, but the FNAF 3 office with the same box of scraps can be seen within the logbook itself. And it's also why they were able to get hold of the logbook and resell it, because anything that was left at Fazbear Fright went into a public auction. So now that I've hopefully proven MCI happens and when it happens, I'd like to look at some other alternative theories like MoltenDCI, the Dead Children's Incident, which is the toy spirits, and RockstarMCI, that the Rockstars contain the MCI spirits, therefore they can still burn in FNAF 6. First of all, I think the toy spirits being the main ones is disproven by Henry's speeches, considering where are the toys being lured back to like Henry claims, and how is Afton overpowering them? We only hear that the toys get scrapped by the company due to their malfunctions when FNAF 2 ends, but due to the DCI investigations, Afton's already gone on the run, and he already had the opportunity to dismantle them when he was a night guard. Henry's speech also debunks this further by saying that Charlie brought some spirits in FNAF 6 life, when the only spirits we've ever seen Charlie directly help with, and confirmed to bring to life, is the MCI, which is also shown on screen when he says this line too. On the other hand, with RockstarMCI, the video made by Squire Scorks is great, and no hate of course, but the Rockstar animatronics being where the MCI lie is confusing for a few reasons. First of all, to get the FNAF 6 fire ending, you don't need to purchase the other Rockstars, while you do need to purchase Lefty, showing how Lefty is a story important character and the other Rockstars most likely aren't. Second of all, the Candy Cadet stories no longer work, because it misses that in each story they merge into one in some capacity, while the 5 Rockstars forever stay separate. The Rockstars were also developed from the originals, but not directly made with them, considering the FNAF 1 shells that were left are propped up in Fazbear's Fright, which got burnt down. Let's say though that those parts survived. Well, anything left was sold at a public auction, meaning to random people. I assume that AR's cut message just means that the Rockstars were based off the original's designs, and not directly made with them, considering that would mean that Cassidy and Charlie are both possessing Lefty, which in itself was only designed for keeping Charlie, despite no signs of Golden Freddy's parts being present in Lefty. So there we go. That's why I'm so confident MoltenMCI happens in the first place, and that it happens after FNAF 1. Reminder though, please don't hate on any theorist I mentioned. They're all great, and I'm even speaking to some of them in the live stream. And of course, they're more than free to disagree with all of this. In fact, I encourage anyone watching who disagrees to let me know in the comments and explain your own theories and thoughts. The main reasons I mention them is because if I didn't, the comments would be asking what about this, that, etc. So I just wanted to cover it all in this one video. Although I said theorize and debate in the comments, if you see necessary, please remain respectful even if you think someone's entirely wrong. Theorizing is all in good fun and it should stay like that. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed and I'll see you on GT Live.